Chattanooga, you are a people who want illegal things stopped. You want an end to illegal weapons. You don't like illegal magazines. You don't like illegal silencers, illegal words, illegal garden plots, illegal campaign gifts, illegal businesses, illegal drivers, Chattanooga, illegal narcotics, Chattanooga, illegal supplements, illegal claims, illegal carrying, illegal donations, illegal taco trucks, illegal food trucks, illegal taxi services, illegal lemonade stands, Chattanooga, illegal cigarette sales, illegal downspout water barrels, illegal vegetable sales, illegal homeschooling, illegal homeless campgrounds, illegal home repair, illegal solar panels, as in Red Bank, illegal filming cops, as in Red Bank, illegal parking, illegal U-turns, Chattanooga, illegal hiring, illegal panhandling, Darren Ledford, illegal Airbnb in Red Bank, illegal in Chattanooga, illegal houses of worship, illegal online activities, Chattanooga, illegal duplications, Chattanooga, illegal searches and seizures, and illegal immigrants. This is David Toulis, and everything that I want to do and everything that really is good and free is illegal. And this is David Toulis, 92.7, the Nooga radio station, the Nooga-centric talk show, and the man who writes for the man and woman who matters. And that's you, my listener. I do thank you for tuning into the show. We are here at 92.7 and 95.3 HD4 Nooga radio. HD4 is high definition digital radio, and everything I want to do is illegal. And I want you to be someone like that. I want you to be someone who is peeved at things that are made illegal, even immigration. Now, there's good news on the immigration front. President Trump has signed an executive order that ends the separation of families who come here with men and women who come here with children. And there will be a revision of the policy on that point. And I think he is to be commended for changing his mind. It is a good and big man who can change his mind and who yet still maintains his principles. I think some of President Trump's principles about the free movement of non-criminal civilians are erroneous. But I'm glad he is willing to do what he has done in the past few hours to remedy a situation which even the left complains about, but really perhaps not. Well, even on the right, they complain about it. And I'll say something to conservatives and to Republican, sort of free market-oriented people here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County. You know, here the Democrats and the progressives are right. They're right about many of these problems regarding immigration. And you, the conservatives, you, the ostensible free market Republican, you are on the wrong side on this one. And pro-life people, I'm hearing say, well, we're pro-life, but we want to have a firm and lawful immigration policy separating children from their families. But you should be really glad, pro-life people here in Chattanooga, if you're my listener, pro-life, be glad that there are progressives who are pro-death, right? Pro-killing baby children, pro-killing of black female babies. You should be glad that they are concerned about the separation of mothers from their children. You should be very concerned. You should be very glad that they're concerned about that and encourage them. And I would say, if you're going to point out their inconsistencies, do so gently and in a spirit of grace, because we want people who are not for life, right? We want them to be for life in this case. We want them to be for the family. In this case, for mothers to have their children at their breast, to have their 4-year-old, 5-year-olds there for friendly conversation over the table. We want that to be the picture that the progressive left offers, and don't be too scandalized. And a lot of radio people, all they seem to talk about is what's in the media and how the media distorts things. Well, I'm just tired of that, and I really don't want to be involved in promoting that kind of discussion. And this is David Toulis, hopefully giving you the best free market analysis in Chattanooga. And I want to mention the story about the 130 great ones in our city who have signed a letter. And you can read a copy of it at the Times Free Press website. Attached to the story, there's an attachment that has a copy of the letter and names all the people who signed it. The leading signature is Jared Bigham, Executive Director of Chattanooga 2.0, followed by Jack Studer, Chairman of the Board of Erlanger, and Cameron Duty, Bellhop's President, Tim Kelly, President of Kelly Auto Group, and Stephen Angle, the Chancellor at UTC. And there are many others, some you might know. Tyler Sira, Treasurer of Unum Group, is not a name I've heard before, but there are others on down. Warren Logan, President CEO of Urban League of Greater Chattanooga, and people like that. Carol Burrs, the Councilwoman. Lori Stevens, founder and director of Chattanooga School of Languages, among the co-signers. Bob McNutt, community member. I mean, there are people who are just described that way as community members. Kevin Adams, the bishop of Olivet Church. Wayne Williams, architect, and there's a list there worth looking at. And what I want to say is that these people who are people all of goodwill, right? They all want good things for Chattanooga. What they are expecting to happen through Chattanooga 2.0 and Unify Ed, the nonprofit group run by young Obama progressives, what they want can't be obtained. They want something. They're reaching for something. They are, as it were, reaching toward a diaphanous illusion. And they see the thing they're reaching for as a thing that's reachable by the method to which they have allied themselves. And that method is the collective operation of a business. And that collective operation of business is through the county and at the behest and in compliance with state law and pursuant to the constitutional provision that creates a system of free public schools in Tennessee. It's an very old provision. The leaders or the overseers of the state back in the 1800s thought that was a good thing to have, and public schooling as a state concept was gaining much ground very rapidly. And they thought, well, we do care for our people, and so we are going to ordain a system of free public schools. In other words, our collective best will operate to bring this business into existence, and we will nurture this business despite all market demand for it. We'll nurture it with taxes, and because it will make it compulsory to attend, or if you have to have some statutorily good reason to not be part of that system. But we have a compulsory attendance statute. We compel the customers into the system, and we compel the market, the people, to pay for it. So we have compulsion on both ends, the funding side and the customer side. And now we're sitting pretty, and we are fulfilling our high civic goals here in Hamilton County and in Tennessee. And we are going to make sure every child becomes a ward of the state for 7 or 8 hours a day. And we're going to deliver instruction, moral instruction, character instruction, instruction in history, civics, and some vocational training as well for some. And we're going to maintain our state. We're going to control our state, and the people have yielded to this, and we are going to serve them in this way. And so the people, in fact, are served, and they're not served really to back to themselves. They're not. An individual is not given himself back in full measure when he goes in. He's reduced somehow, and he's changed, and he is slowly adjusted. You might say his posture is slowly adjusted to fit the needs of the state and the needs of policy, right? The needs of policy and law, which have many interests behind them even. So it's not just that schools serve the public interest. They serve interests that are interests to which the state is beholden, and departments of the state, interests in the state, groupings and claques in the state are beholden. This is David Toulis. And what I'd like to suggest is that the well-meaning people who signed this document are ones who hope for something to be delivered by a system that can't deliver. It can't deliver it, and it never has. It really never has delivered it. And in the process of public education, we have parallel with it. We have the rise of the permitting and licensing state. We have a rise of commercial government. So to say that we have public schools so that the people might be bettered is really to mislead, because the people are not bettered by public schools. They are diminished in their ability to think, in their ability to overturn, in their ability to shift paradigms, in their power, if you will, to think new thoughts and to start new processes and to revolt. Right? They've been effectively sterilized and neutered in their spirits and in their intellects. And in the school itself, they're not given the means of antithesis. They're not given the means of seeing how things are in conflict. They can't see things in conflict anymore. There is a pragmatic ethic taught by the school board, which operates behind concertina wire in a compound, a very nice compound, protected by chain link fence and concertina wire, as if it were a battle headquarters. If there's a battle headquarters, why not? I mean, after all, that is appropriate when there is the use of coercion and the reduction of voluntary action and the you might say the desubsidization, the disincentive, the creation of disincentives for voluntary, private, self-funded, and capital-oriented, capital-funded operations in the area of education. Well, this is David Toulis, and the number is 800-8949, 800-8949. I argue that you should love your neighbor and buy local. And so the people we have in the signing of this letter, seeking equity, right? The goal is to have equity. And I'd say if you want to summarize this Apex report, the racial and socio-economic desegregation paper put by Unify Ed, which we've looked at, and if you haven't, it's worth reading, and it's worth seeing how the document effectively trains you to not see certain things. Right, when you read it and you enter into the spirit of the text, which is what you're supposed to do when you read. Like when you watch a movie, you enter into the artifice, the pretense of the movie maker, and that you do that willingly because you want to see something new, right? And you can't see it if you hold back. You have to yield. You have to open yourself up, as it were, to the message, to the scenes, to the experience that the characters and the plot and the settings give you, and you enter by imagination into this other world. Well, that's what you do when you read a paper. That's what you do when you read the newspaper. Every time you read something, every time someone starts talking to you, right, through your eyes in the reading process or the listening process, you enter in with sympathy and with empathy into that understanding, and that's what you get. So reading, a good reader, like a good listener, right, is empathetic. He can learn from the person who's speaking, and he enters finally into understanding that person's problems, and maybe offers a solution. Right, that's what the listener is good for. He listens, and sometimes his great favor is just to listen without interrupting. Right, not being too quick to offer a solution. Right, not too quick to offer analysis and digging questions. Just let that person speak. Let him speak, and 30 minutes later, the subject seems to be near the point of exhaustion, and the speaker is looking at you, and he knows you understand him, and in fact you do, because you just listened. You just listened and you listened. So here we have the Apex report, and if you enter into it by reading it, which I certainly recommend that you do, because after all, these are local people. They are trying hard, right? They are producing something for your benefit and the benefit of the school system. So do give them a hearing. I say give them a hearing, and listen to what they have to say. But what if I could just tell you where I have gone in this review? What I've gone is I've entered into the hope and aspirations of a system that is equitable, where poor people, people who have disadvantaged backgrounds, children who have maybe one parent, the mother at home, maybe they're being reared by a grandmother or a senior aunt or an older couple connected with the family. They have many disadvantages, and those disadvantages are, of course, in the home. And everyone says that, and we all know that. But how do we solve those problems? How do we solve built-in disadvantage? The Lord says we will always have the poor with us. The poor will always have with us because they're people who just simply can't learn. They simply can't advance. They can't think about benefiting other people. They don't know how to serve. They're perhaps a little self-centered. They don't think in terms of helping others. And a person who doesn't prosper, who is poor, often you can see that in his perspective. Everything he talks about is about himself, his own needs, his own lacks, his own problems. He rarely will ask you, well, how's your life going, right? He doesn't know how to do that. And so there's a lack of, you might say, other-centrism in that person's perspective. And it's just a habit of mind that person's had, and he really can't get out of it. And because he can't easily, and because no one's there to encourage him to get out of it, he's going to be poor his whole life. He's always going to be looking out for himself and not looking out for other people. Because if he does that, if he learns how to do that, then he has a real prospect of gain. This is David Toulis, and what I have in my mind is the kind of disappointment. A disappointment at people who are capital oriented, right? Who are business people who should know better. People who you would think running, let's say, car dealerships, should know better than to trust in collectivism and to trust in administration, because that's what the people who have written this letter believe in. They believe in administration. If we just have better administration, we'll have results. We'll have. I'm trying to find one here that I have a printout of the TFP. I read the article this morning in the paper and marked it because I was feeding my mother at her skilled care facility, and I've made a policy while she's there for more than half a month while she's there getting rehab to go in and make sure she has her breakfast, because she's a kind of a sad lassitude has entered into her breast at 94 years old, and she's not energetic as she always has been. Her vigorous sort of stabbing hand motions that she has as a Swiss immigrant, not refined hand motions that she has, her demonstrative motions, they're all kind of flattened out now. And I made sure she had some of her breakfast sausage, a little spicy for her, but I mixed it with egg, and I made sure that when the tray came from Stephanie, that my mother fed herself. I cut it for her, and I said, "Mom, go ahead." And she had 3 mouthfuls in the time that I sat there reading this article, marking it. Well, for example, Tim Kelly is president of Kelly Auto Group and chairman of the Community Foundation's board of directors. Well, he says, I really feel strongly about this simply because what we have been doing around here in the past 20 or 30 years hasn't worked. We basically have too many kids who are left behind, he says. And from a particular economic perspective, we don't have enough qualified kids in our labor pool. There's a moral argument, he says. There's a legal argument, and there's an economic argument. We have to find a way to create a rising tide that will lift all boats. Well, that's, again, he wants something to happen. Tim Kelly, a businessman, he wants something to happen that he expects can arise from administration and coordination in a bureaucracy, because that's what public schools are. They're the biggest bureaucracy. They have 43,000 inmates and about 6,500 employees. It's the biggest business in Chattanooga, the government business of training the next generation, making sure all of our children are successful, that they can all enter into the world economy and produce and give back. That's what the hope is, that they will all do that. And that they'll do that after having been in our system in a 12-year sentence. Boats won't rise. Boats will be in stagnant waters, in stinking stagnant waters, if there's not new life that comes in. And the new life, of course, as I suggest, is the free market. That is to say, a devolution of the highly evolved, highly structured, rigid, archaic, sclerotic government school system, which is a bureaucracy. It can't adjust to the market. It can't adjust to what people's needs, and it doesn't care about families. It doesn't care, because the client of public schooling is not the family. It is the state. And if you think that's different way of looking at it, well, just think about it. The client is the state, and the parents are the providers of the materiel, the natural resources, the human resources, if you will, that are the thing that the machine operates on. They're sort of the fuel or the parts that come in, the parts that are to be properly adjusted and reshaped and reformed through behaviorism and the proper teaching of evolution and collectivist narrations of history, of every other topic will be will be presented from an evolutionary and materialistic perspective. And that is because God, by court decisions out of Washington, has to be excluded. By definition, the theology of public school has to be very humanistic and man-centered. Man decides all things. Man is the maker of all things. And we are going to learn how well that's gone. You can't have results that are give them market solutions if you just think progress on equity and the right. Liberatory for the radio.
Chattanooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
The man who was shot by cops is out of the hospital and in jail. 50-year-old Joel Harris was punctured by hot lead after officers responded to a call of a disturbance with a weapon on Tunnel Boulevard. Harris was released from the hospital yesterday and shipped off to